نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created man and given him all the clear instruction about how to live a life of obedient servant. When man follows the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they find themselves in the safest situation and on the track. Obviously, we have our enemies in the form of devil, shaitan, and our nafs, the low self, or the bestial self. They will try to distract us from the main path many a time with regards to questioning the wisdom behind certain Sharia rules. But one needs to step back a bit and then start thinking. The Lord who created us, He loves us more than we can love ourselves, more than our parents. He has provided us all those faculties, all the blessings around us, within ourselves and without asking any favors. Whatever we do is only going to benefit us. Nothing would benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when it comes to the inheritance rules, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has categorically mentioned in Quran the portions and fraction of the inheritance for the relatives. There are certain people who receive it in a specific portion after the death of the individuals. So one doesn't need to specify that, which has already been made easy for us. Many a times people think that why is the women given half to that of the men? Now, for once, it is not absolute. It is only with regards to children or siblings. When it comes to parents, they are given exactly the same portion. So anyone who passed away, their mum and dad should get 1/6 regardless. Likewise, their grandparents. But when it comes to the children, the boy would get double that of the daughter, the girl. And there are many wisdoms behind it, many logical explanation. That according to Islamic law, a woman is not required to maintain herself financially. Rather, she would get support from her father when the father passed away, from the brother, when she's married, from the husband, when she is elderly or widowed or divorced, from the children, sons. Now when she's supported like that, she wouldn't need anything. She can claim her maintenance from whoever male guardian she is living with. So her inheritance ideally shouldn't be anything. But Sharia has given her half of the men who would need to do a lot more than she could even consider. So with regards to her responsibilities, she is exempt. Now this wife or the daughter or the mother or the sister, she can demand her maintenance from her guardian, while the guardian has to take responsibility if the mother is dependent or the sister is dependent. Wife is always going to be dependent, and the daughters who always is going to be dependent until she gets married. So he's already responsible for quite a few people around him, whereas the girl is never responsible. So that is the main fabric of society that Islam has given us as a plan. Now, obviously, people can change. There will be exception to the rules. There will be people who are not doing anything. They're not fulfilling their responsibilities. Many men do not work enough or work hard, or at least do not, even if they work and gain and achieve enough funds, they do not support their female folks in the family. But that's their problem. Not following the law is the problem with the individual, not with the law. They have to be sorted out. That is why when Sharia law is implemented, male members of the family will be made to do all those jobs and the works. They are supposed to fulfill all those obligations. So law would make sure that they do it, and that would support the women. Now women have decided to go out on their own because they find it fancy to go out and earn some money. Again, that's their choice. Many a time they're not in need of that. They're there to support. Why they need support? The husband, because the demands are higher. Likewise, the husbands many a time demand them to do more work or extra work while fulfilling their responsibility, which Sharia is obligated to maintain the household. They go out and do the work as well. But if they're doing it voluntarily, that's their choice. If they're doing it because they need to do so, then the law should intervene and sort the husband or the brother or the father out who is not supporting the dependents. That could go with the children, that could go with anyone. So when individuals do not act according to their responsibilities, then they need to be penalized by the law. And that is why when the proper administration has been implemented, things get much more sorted out. Now, whenever there's situation, the situation would be dealt with independently, individually. So it is not absolute that the woman would not go out and work. Obviously, whenever there's a need, she would do that. But that does not make her eligible for the change of law. The law remains, inheritance remains. She would never become sole responsible. Obviously, she would become in situation, but obviously at that point, who is she going to inherit from? Now, you may come up with this idea, okay, if the father is dying and he has got enough funds, why can't he inherit more to the daughter who is more sensible and responsible and working harder? So the answer to that is very simple. If he knew it and he saw it, there's nothing in Sharia that stops him, that father, to give everything to this daughter and not give anything to the son while he's alive. He's entitled to give anything in his lifetime to any individual. Doesn't have to be family, doesn't have to be from the neighbor, could be anyone, completely stranger. He's allowed to give all his wealth to anyone he wants, but obviously he should be just, not depriving people unnecessarily. So they must, so that father is entitled to give that wealth to the daughter who he knows would be much more sensible, be depend, would need to have support for the dependence she has. So he can do that in his lifetime. He doesn't need to wait and then change the law. So the law remains because that is for all the time in every situation. it doesn't change if there was different in the attitude of people. So if someone says that we would rather give equal share to the children, they are allowed to do so as long as they distribute it within their life. Once someone dies, that money does not belong to that individual, and in his inheritance, his will has no effect whatsoever. He only owns, after he dies or she dies, a third of his or her wealth, and they can only implement their will in one third of their wealth, who they can donate or distribute to anyone they want other than their heirs. For example, a father or the mother who passed away and they've done their will, they cannot inherit this wealth, they cannot give it to the natural inheritors, their heirs. Like they cannot inherit the children, so they cannot give it to their children, a third that they own even after their death. They cannot pass it on to their children, their parents, their spouses. And if they do not have any of those, and the natural heirs would be their siblings when they do not have parents and the children. But if they have parents and the siblings, then again, if they have no children, then the siblings are entitled for the inheritance. The, in that situation, they won't be able to give anything from one third of their wealth to the siblings either. So whoever is going to be the recipient of that inheritance, they cannot make will in their favor even after their death. In their life, they are entitled to give anything to anyone. They can give it all to their wife, all to their husband, all to their parents, to their children, to their grandchildren. Once they died, they only have one third, which they can give to someone other than their heirs, because their heirs will get a portion from their estates, their wealth, their finances that they've left behind, according to Quranic injunction. So I hope that clarifies and make it easy to understand. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand the wisdom behind the rules and regulation.